up, YouTube? Today's video, we're going to be looking at Onion's most recent attempt at drumming up some sympathy through his pathetic digital animation skills, I guess. And I also want to talk about the most recent Chris Hansen stream that happened last night. But before I get into that, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'm Original Asherella, and we call this segment Onion Tea. Alrighty, so just one day ago, Onion Man uploaded a video that was an animated video, but they were like realistic cut type. The characters in the video, I don't know what program he used to make it, but they looked kind of like GTA characters maybe. But it was him, obviously him, and a very crude interpretation of PewDiePie, Felix Schellberg. Now, I have so many things to say about this video, but at first I just want to say, like, Onion's attempt at, digitally animating PewDiePie is, like, almost insulting. Like, he didn't even attempt at giving him a Swedish accent. Like, I guess it sorta kind of resembles him, but Onion Man's character looks pretty much like him, or at least how Onion wants everybody to see him and how he sees himself. It's like Onion with this like messy emo hair and like an all black suit and like looking very like intense, you know, like he thinks he's this like gothy emo like icon god, and he's so freaking not. But in this video, it's him and PewDiePie having a conversation that ultimately ends with the animated Onion Man blowing his brains out. And it's sickening, not because it's like, oh, Onion might be suicidal, because it is such an obvious attempt at, like, gaining some sympathy or trying to victim blame and shame, and again, trying to gaslight his audience. It's so bad. In the video, there is a back and forth between Onion and fake Felix about like, oh, why do we do YouTube? And it's a job. And he, like, you know, Onion goes into, you know, saying that, you know, PewDiePie really isn't playing video games because he has to film it and edit it and he makes money off of it. Basically, again, you know, addressing YouTube and how all of the YouTubers are narcissistic. Like, Onion, you are like a textbook narcissist and sociopath. Like, it's just so crazy how much you call out narcissism when you yourself are one. And he knows that he is, and I think that is actually a big, symptom of narcissist. Like I've stated this before in other videos, I am not a trained psychiatrist or psychologist or anything like that, but I have common sense and I've stayed at a Holiday Inn Express. So I think it's safe for me to say that, you know, Onion is very well aware that he is a narcissist and he likes to draw attention to it because, as most narcissists, you know, he likes to draw attention to himself in any way he can. But it's like this back and forth. He's trying to be kind of like existential and like, what does it all mean? Why do we do it? Why is it worth it? And blah blah blah. And the one thing that I think is funny, it's like there's no real depth in this video whatsoever, despite Onion desperately trying to make himself sound, you know, deep and like philosophical. But it's so much funny because here Onion is again trying to equate himself to someone with much, much bigger celebrity than he. And there was a point in time when Onion Man was very popular on YouTube. You know, he is a YouTube OG, but, you know, he has never been, nor will he ever be, to the level of Felix. And like Felix, like, he's a legitimate international celebrity. You know, he's not just a popular YouTuber. Like, Onion Man has done this with other celebrities, public figures, beloved icons. He tries to align himself and make himself look, like, put himself in the same tier as them, to try to like gain sympathy and or forgiveness in that way. And I very much think, you know, Onion has talked shit about PewDiePie for years, and it's all out of jealousy. Like, he's never liked PewDiePie, not because of any of the controversies or anything like that. It's just because Felix has always been so much more popular than Onion. And, like, I like PewDiePie. I'm not a hardcore PewDiePie fan. I don't watch his videos daily or anything like that. But, like, Felix, you know, he's had a little bit of drama. And, you know, through their scripted conversation, because this is, like, fake Felix, Onion addresses how the only way to get views is to have drama, and, you know, your fans don't want to see you do good. Your fans only support you when you're doing bad, or not really your fans only want to support you, but people only want to watch you when your life is a wreck. And it's like, no, Onion, like, it's not like that. The reason you are getting attention off of your negative behavior right now is because people are out here spreading so much awareness about you so that you face consequences. Now, like I said, you know, PewDiePie has not been without his, you know, scandal and drama and things like that in the past, but it was totally different situation than what Onion has been in. And again, we have Onion trying to like relate the situations, and they're not like that at all. They're not related whatsoever. Toward the end of the video, Onion proceeds to say, "I'm sick, and I have been for a long time." And I'm thinking, oh, is this, Onion Man, is this you again? You know, like basically admitting to what everybody has accused you of doing. But then, you know, he talks about how he's been diagnosed with depression and he's never really been happy, and blah, 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 blah. And, like, everything he's doing and saying it's all just to drum up sympathy. He's trying to tug at people's heartstrings, so hoping that people viewing that video might cut him some slack. And then he's like, oh, maybe we're all a little mad. And it's like, Onion, like, cut it with the, like, Joker, Mad Hatter, like, you know, misunderstood villain, like, antagonist act. You're not that motherfucking deep. You're not. It doesn't work for you. Stop saying stuff like that. Like, you're fucking crazy in a, like, diagnosable, like, clinical, sociopathic way, but you're not, oh, maybe we're all a little mad, in, like, a, you know, depth or philosophical way, okay? Just, I wish he would just understand that and stop trying to be like this darketype. You know what I mean? You're not Professor Snape. You're not anybody. But, through the video, Onion says, like, toward the end, he's, like, saying to PewDiePie, I'm sorry your house got robbed. And then PewDiePie's character says, yeah, everybody just left. And it's like, no, they did not, Onion. I could link dozens of videos that were, like, super sympathetic to Felix getting robbed. Like, that sucked. And I think anybody and everybody that has anything to do with YouTube, creates content, you know, we're genuinely sympathetic to Felix. Like, that sucks. You know, it was shortly after he had gotten married and, like, his house got broken into. I've been robbed like that before, and it's a terrible feeling. It's a violating, like, act for someone to do. And, like, you might have had, like, these troll channels, and that's all they do is, like, talk crap about people and laugh at people's misfortune just for the sake of doing it. But nobody really was, like, genuinely laughing at Felix and Marissa for getting robbed, Onion. Like, don't, like, and it's just, it makes me mad. He's trying to draw sympathy for himself off of somebody else's situation that does not give a fuck about him at all. Like, Felix, like, it's like, who's Onion? Who's Onion? Ugh, it's just gross. At the very end of the video, you know, Onion alludes to, like, being sick, and then, you know, the PewDiePie character's like, oh, are you going to die soon? Blah, blah, blah. And then Onion's character pulls out a gun and like blows his head off, and there's blood splatter. And you know, it's graphic. I mean, it's animated, but it's graphic. But it's just like, Greg, really? Do you really think like that we're gonna like be sympathetic to you because you threw that crap together? All it is him trying to drum up sympathy, and it's not going to work. It just is making you look desperate, like you are, Onion. Like, he says that he's innocent. We all know he's not. And really, the only respectable thing that he could possibly do right now is admit to what he has done and voluntarily turn himself in and seek psychiatric help and, you know, face the consequences for his crimes. You know, I mean, that's up to a jury of his peers, what those may be. But, or I guess it's the judge that actually does the sentencing. Sometimes juries, I don't know. I didn't graduate law school. But anyway, yeah, and it's just so pathetic, whereas he's trying to be, like, deep. He's trying to, create, like, a catharsis in his viewers and trying to, you know, trigger and draw on emotions. And Onion Man himself has, like, you know, one of the things initially years ago when I was a brief fan, it's because he seemed to be very blunt and open about like self-harm, mental health issues, you know, like suicidal thoughts and things like that, and how, you know, that kind of stuff is not the answer. So not only is this video super hypocritical, it's just an act. It's an act like everything else he's ever done ever. It is an act. He doesn't mean that. He is not suicidal. He is just trying to get sympathy. That being said, though, I mentioned this, and I think it was part 2 of the videos that I did reviewing his Amazon book reviews. I reviewed his reviews because God knows I am not putting the time and effort, energy, and definitely not money into reading his books. I've skimmed, but yet no. Anyway, oh, somebody had left in my comments that the teacher's name in Stones to Abigail, one of Onion Man's books, is named Mr. Hansen. I don't know if that's true or not. I have no reason to believe it's not. But isn't that quite ironic and some scrumptious foreshadowing, if that is true? If you've read that book, or if you know if that's true, confirm down in the comments below. But anyway, I said this in part 2 of that video, that I fear, like, Onion, I genuinely think that he thinks he's going to be able to get away with this. I think he thinks he's going to be able to, like, talk and banter and, like, narcissist his way out of this situation. That's not going to happen. And I fear that once he realizes that, because of his narcissism, because he is a sociopath, I think if he feels like he is backed into a corner and doesn't have an escape, rather than admit that he's wrong, rather than do what a normal person would do in those situations. Normal people don't find themselves in these situations, but, like, I could see Onion doing something tragic in an act of selfishness and narcissism. You know what I mean? Like, not really because he felt, like, suicidal, but because he wanted to, like, go down as a quote-unquote martyr. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I think he would do something crazy like that if, rather than admit that he was wrong ever, like, I think he would rather do something like that. And that is scary AF. That is so scary. That's just my opinion, though. If you guys have any thoughts on this, like, let me know down in the comments. I know a lot of people have a lot of thoughts on Onion, and I'm always open to, you know, respectful discussion. If you post anything just outright misogynistic or racist or anything like that in the comments, I will block you, and I am very much a, advocate for freedom of speech, and I'm not opposed to having, respectful conversations, even if you don't agree with me. But I had posted that in a previous video, and then someone said, oh, well, you blocking someone because they don't agree with you. And I had blocked someone because they had said something like super like misogynistic, and they had said like, go sit down and earn my equal pay or something like that. And I blocked them. And then somebody said, oh, well, then you don't believe in freedom of speech. No, that's like, I wouldn't allow somebody to come into my house and start dropping the N-bomb. You know what I mean? That's the same thing. I'm not saying you can't think that or say that in your own place, but you're not going to be like outright misogynistic or racist or discriminatory in those kinds of way in the comments. If you want to have a respectful discussion, we can do that. Anyway, last night Chris Hansen had a stream. He had on Stevie Wolfe and Mr. Atheist. Chris, what is his last name? I gotta figure it out. It was a very interesting stream. Stevie's always got some really like fun and insightful and witty things to say about Onion, not just bashing him. He's done a ton of research, and his opinion, thoughts, and just overall stance on Onion is solid. It is very compelling. I back up and agree with just about everything he says regarding Onion. So he had a lot of really good thoughts on the stream last night. Mr. Atheist is Jimmy Snow. I don't know why I said Chris, but I'm not super familiar with he or his work, but I'm going to sub to his channel and watch some of his stuff because he was very interesting. A lot of the things he said was super compelling. He is an expert in cult behavior. There is a rating system that he uses when basically trying to determine if a group is a cult, and they're rating on the cult scale, because there are pretty extreme, very hardcore cults, and then there are other groups that have occult tendencies but might not be as hardcore as Scientologists, for example. And he had a lot of really interesting things to say. He said absolutely yes, that so much of the stuff that Onion does is very similar. And we heard this from Dr. Lisa Stroman in the week before last stream. Just everybody that has any kind of authority on this is very much confirming that Greg portrays a lot of behaviors that cult members do. And I thought it was very interesting because it's so true. And if you look at cults throughout history, modern day and old ones, the cult, it's there's always this set of really, really strict rules that everybody has to follow no matter what, except for the leader. It's the leader is always excluded from these strict have to do, or you're not, abiding by the faith. And we've seen in all these testimonies from these girls that there was very strict behaviors that were expected of them when they were around Onion. And he says he definitely has an immediate micro cult, and to an extent through what he's got left of a fan base. That's scary. That is scary that somebody on YouTube can cultivate a following in that way. Someone so manipulative. And I think there is a big difference between being a YouTuber and having fans that enjoy what it is that you do, if it's your art, or if, you play video games, or whatever it is that you do that people enjoy. Them liking you and following you and subbing to you is not necessarily the same as what Onion has done. He has used YouTube as a platform to manipulate young people and to draw them in to his way of thinking. And he recognized that early on and very much took advantage of it. He recognized that, as soon as he started to gain popularity, and used that as a tool to manipulate people. That's basically it, to be the narcissistic sociopath that he is. And we've heard a few testimonies that he very well may be a sex addict also, and that's gross, and he obviously has something going on there, because you don't do what Onion has done if you don't have some, like, issues sexually in your, you know, I don't know the best way to say it, but you know what I mean, right? Alright, so I always try to keep my videos short, and then they never end up being short. I don't know why, I just cannot stop talking sometimes, but whenever I feel so, like, passionately about someone or something, I just can't stop talking sometimes. But yeah, if you didn't watch my last video, make sure you check it out. I got super pissed at Onion Man for saying the name Billy Corgan and then talking about the Smashing Pumpkins in a recent video he uploaded. He's uploaded another one since then that's a painting video also, where he talks about Marilyn Manson, which pisses me off also, but I don't even want to, like, give it attention to, like, watch it again to make a video on it. But anyway, yeah, I guess that's it for today. One thing I want to say is that I personally, as far as social media goes, I've never really liked the idea of, like, I've had my Twitter account for years, but I didn't really start using it until recently, because I wish they would have came up with different terminology rather than following, like, I follow this person, and then, you know, on Instagram, I follow this person, and it's like, why did they use that term? I hate that term because I've always looked at myself as, like, an individual and unique and kind of an outlier and a leader, if anything, and not a follower. And I know that might be a little kind of, like, conceited to think or say, but I've always hated that terminology as far as social media goes. Like, oh, follow me, or I follow this person. It's like, I want to, like, appreciate their content and see what they have to say, with it not being like I'm following them. You guys know what I mean? Is that crazy? Am I crazy? I don't know. Anyway, that's it for this episode of Onion Tea. We're up to 11 Onion Tea episodes. Can you believe that? There was already, like, 2 or 3 other videos I made about Onion before I even started this series, so, you know, they're stacking up really quickly, but when he is doing so much crazy stuff, how can I not talk about it? But just remember, you know, hashtag deplatform predators. Onion Man is not the only person that is using YouTube and social media to manipulate, you know, children and teenagers and other people for that matter. So yeah, just we need to keep talking about it until there are consequences for Onion. I hope everybody's having a great week. It's almost the weekend, thank goodness. But yeah, guys, always tap in, never tap out, and keep on onion slaying like a saying.